Hello everyone, this is a review of ist212 midterm. So first we are going to create our virtual machine as usual. We'll call it ist212-mid. We'll keep all the other settings such as the storage location as default. We will not change anything. Next, we'll select generation 2. Next, for the memory, we'll boost it up to at least 4 or 5 GB, and we will disable dynamic memory. Next, for the virtual switch, we can choose whichever virtual switch. We will not actually be utilizing any network connectivity for this lab. I will choose EVS. Next, we will keep the VHDX settings as is. No need to even change the size. Next, I'm going to install an operating system from a DVD ISO file. Next, then I will click finish. This will create the virtual machine. After creating the virtual machine, we need to I think I have a VHD with the same name. We'll call 24 in this case. Click finish. Okay, after I create the virtual machine, I need to attach the VHD drive that contains the insertion media. First, let me boost the processor count to 4. Then I will go to SCSI controller, hard drive at. From here, I'll click on browse. I will go to exchange data. The location of exchange data might differ, so you need to confirm with your lab instructor. And then I will hit apply. Okay. I can start the VM now. After starting the VM, we need to go ahead and click on any key on the keyboard to start the installation process. I'll click next, install now. Of course, we are going to use Windows Server desktop experience, so please pay attention to the selection here. We'll go with standard, next. I accept, next, custom. In this case, I'll not use the exchange data, I'll use the default partition. I'll click on new, apply, okay. And then next. This will perform the installation of Windows Server 2019. Of course, after we do the installation, we have to evaluate multiple settings related to Windows Server. And then afterwards, we can actually start the installation process of all the files available in Exchange data. I will pause the recording until the installation is complete. Of course, the installation speed might differ from PC to PC. Usually, it doesn't take more than 4 to 5 minutes. Okay. Now, before we start, I'll turn off the VM actually. I'll make sure that the DVD drive is deattached. So I'll remove the ISO file for the DVD, apply, and then OK. And then I can safely start the VM. This is, of course, to prevent the VM from booting again into the bootloader of the DVD. Okay. I'll select on the server. Sometimes it will not ask you to actually select anything. It will boot directly. It depends, really. It's from ISO file to ISO file. But usually, if it asks you you want to boot Windows Server, just select Windows Server and press Enter on the keyboard. After booting up, we will set up the administrator password. Of course, the steps for attaching the VHD are the same steps we actually use in Lab 4. So attaching the VHD is Lab 4, exactly. And Lab 5 is the installation of all files except of the Exchange Server ISO file itself. So all installation media related to or requirements related to Exchange Server will be installed in Lab 5 except of the ISO file itself of Exchange Server. During the midterm, make sure that there are no other virtual machines running at the same time. This will speed up your VM, and at the same time, of course, make sure that you have enough memory to allocate for your Windows Server VM. Doesn't usually take this long, but for some reason it is slower today. No problem. Okay. We always use the same password, ktek at 123.com. K capital. We use it for basically any field that require password. Ktek at 123.com again and finish. We can just set the same width and height for screen resolution. Ktek again at 123.com. After we're done with the login process, we need to head to server manager. Of course, from here, we need to evaluate the server configuration. If in the midterm I ask you, what are the Hyper-V configuration? All you need to do is click on File Settings and take a snapshot of this window. These are the configuration or settings of the current Hyper-V. Okay, very simple. From here, I can tell the memory assigned virtual processor if you attach the VHD or not, of exchange data, the network adapter, and this stuff. Okay, so this is the Hyper-V configuration. In here, if I ask you what is the current server configuration, you just take a snapshot of local server tab. This is the current server configuration. Of course, IPv settings configuration, just go to IPv settings, right click, properties, IPv4 properties. These are the current. So they are basically self-assigned IP, okay? In this case. So these are the IPv4 settings configuration. In local server itself, if I ask you check or disable enhanced security configuration, this is IE enhanced security. We can disable it this way and take a screenshot, okay? If I tell you to change the computer name, you can change it from here, okay? You can change it whatever. For example, let's say ist212. And after, of course, you change the computer name, it will ask you for a restart, okay? We don't have to restart now, I'll restart later. If I tell you adjust the time zone settings are set from here. So you can change time zone to Kuwait, okay, 3 UTC. So from here you can change the time settings, and of course, at any moment you can hit the refresh button to actually refresh the page here to make sure that the settings are reflected in your screenshot. If I ask you, for example, to check for Windows Update, checking for Windows Update is done from here. You just click on install and check for updates. Of course, again, in this case, we don't have internet connectivity, so it's enough to take a screenshot of this page. Okay. Let's go to the exchange data. Of course, as you can see, lab 4 is not finished after attaching the VHD. Attaching the VHD is part of lab 4. To complete lab 4, you need to go to computer management, and from computer management, you need to actually make your VHD online. So go to storage, disk management, and you'll see the exchange data here. Just right click on it and click on online. This will make the VHD accessible actually, and you can see it here. So before I go to Exchange data installation, we need to actually do the requirements for Exchange server. So the requirements are done by installing Active Directory and Web Server, IIS. Both of these things are considered requirements for Exchange server. So we go here, we go to manage, add roles and features. Next. From here, I'll select Active Directory, ADDS, Domain Services, add features. And of course, let us not forget Web Server. So if I ask you, check for all required roles and features, these two should be installed. Maybe I will leave IIS uninstalled, or maybe I will leave Active Directory, or both. So you need to install them. Okay. Next, and then install. After installation is complete, we need to promote the server to a domain controller, actually. So pay attention to this progress bar, because it will not close the window automatically. You need to pay attention to the progress bar. When it's complete, then you can say that the installation is actually complete and you can restart the server. So I changed the computer name first, okay. I updated my server, assuming that I have internet connection, of course. I updated my time zone settings. You can see it here again. Okay. I disabled enhanced security mode. If I ask you, for example, to enable RDP also, remote desktop, you can enable it from here. If you click on it, allow, okay. And again, if you change anything, you can click on refresh to reflect it here. So you can see it's enabled. All of these things, we can consider them just default system administration tasks, actually. Nothing is related to Exchange server so far, except for attaching the VHD. Again, the installation of IIS and ADDS might take 4 to 5 minutes, depends on your PC. I can see ADDS installed and I can see IIS installed. I'll hit close and then do a quick reboot. This reboot will reflect the computer name and it will finalize some installation requirements for ADDS. Okay, I'll log in again. After I log in, I will head again to Server Manager and promote the server actually to a domain controller. So how can I do that? Automatically, I will see a flag here with yellow triangle. I'll hit on promote. I'll select add a new forest. And of course, in your exam, it will mention what kind of domain should you use. I'll use kteklabs.local in this case. Next, the same password, ktek@123.com. Again, ktek@123.com. I will keep the function level to Windows Server 2016. Next, I will keep the settings. No need to change it. The device name should be automatically filled for you. If not, just type it as mentioned in the lab instructions. kteklabs. Next. I will keep these paths. No need to change anything. Next, and finally, this will do a prerequisite check. You can skip any warnings. No need to address them. And just hit install. We'll wait for the installation to be complete. Of course, I might install some of the required files for you already. So maybe I'll install rewrite module or what's called some installation media. For example, the Visual C++, the Unified Communication Platform, for example. So you need to check for the installed programs and features already, and make sure you're only installing what is required. In any case, if we are doing actually a full or from scratch setup, then of course nothing will be installed. If I give you a VHD or Hyper-V instance that is already configured, then you need to make sure that everything is installed. Either way, I will show you how to do that very soon after the boot is complete. Of course, after you install Active Directory Domain Services, it might take a while. It might get stuck when applying computer settings, actually. So if it does, wait for it. It might take, sometimes it might take up to 10 minutes, actually. So we have to be patient. I'll pause the recording and come back.